Blair here. Great to have you joining me this morning. And we've had quite the weather turn here. We've all of a sudden gotten into the 50s, which is kind of funny to see snow on the ground and 50-degree temperatures outside. But regardless, it's great to have you joining us today. As today we continue on looking at the idea of the story of creation. And this part here today is really fascinating. I think you'll find it pretty inspiring, like mentally. I find it very inspiring mentally. And the point of it here is looking at these two great lights and this idea story of creation, and that the story of creation is a metaphor. It's a metaphor about what God is doing in our lives. And we're at that part where there's two lights set up. There's a light of the sun and the light of the moon are set up, and one is to govern by day and the other is to govern by night. Now that's really interesting way to hold it. Just sort of, I think we first off need to take a step back and get that God here is not saying the nighttime is bad and all darkness is bad. He's saying, yep, there's darkness, and you will have, by God's grace, you'll have a light to navigate that as well. What's that light? That's the light of the moon. And if you're, singing along to the song from "It's a Wonderful Life," I totally concur. By the light of the moon. And I always have found that image really fascinating from a Christian New Church perspective. There are times when our faith is clearly lit by love, a faith that's grown out of love. And that's where we really want to continue to lean towards. And then there's also this faith that's born more out of the intellect, and where we may not be able to get it, we may not be able to truly understand it or understand where our lives are or anything like that, but we're just able to have a moon-like faith. And I loved this idea, and it's really, I'm not going to get the right language around it, so my apologies. The idea that faith in hard times is often a reflective faith. So what does that mean? Well, we get to see the moon because the sun's light bounces off of the moon, and we that's how we were able to see it. And isn't that interesting, right? That at times like this, it is sort of just looking up at the moon and just seeing the reflective light of love. We're not seeing it directly. We're seeing it indirectly, and we're not there. It's a nighttime state. But even then, in those darker times, they do, folks, I mean, amazingly have their own stark beauty. And I don't mean that they're great or that we need to be like, hey, this is the best thing ever. It's just to acknowledge they do have their own stark beauty. I know for me, working with families who are going through challenges or having challenges, that are more close to home, there's a way that the starkness of it also brings an incredible beauty where you see people step up, where you see, as Mr. Rogers said, watch for the helpers. You see the helpers. You see love in a different way at these incredibly challenging times, which is interesting. Now, I want to be clear: it's not that God gives us challenging times so that we come to that realization. That's not true at all. It's just those things happen, and God will always be striving to be to bring as much good as is possible out of these dark times. Part of that might be connected to this idea of the moon. So, what I wanted to share with you is I actually wanted to share a poem here today. And this is the poem by Dietrich Bonhoeffer called "Who Am I?" So Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a Lutheran pastor. He was arrested for helping some Jews to escape from Germany, and he's imprisoned in a concentration camp when he writes this poem, or I should say, as Gestapo prison when he writes this poem. And this poem is "Who Am I?" Beautiful poem, and he actually ends up being executed by Hitler very late in the war, like within a few days of the end of the war. And Bonhoeffer's talking about this debate. He's talking about, look, people look at me and they think like, wow, what a brave guy, how incredible he is, and what fortitude. And then the poem juxtaposes that with what he knows of himself, that he's afraid and he's worried and he can't sleep. And it's this, that, and what's going on in his head and what presents outside and what other people are telling him are two different things. So he's trying to come to this, well, who am I actually? Am I this thing or am I this thing? And you're going to see a moon-like statement at the end where he kind of lets all that go to rest, and he picks up another perspective. So this is the poem, "Who Am I?" Who am I? They often tell me I step from my cell's confinement, calmly, cheerfully, firmly, like a squire from his country house. Who am I? They often tell me I used to speak to my warders freely and friendly and clearly, as though it were mine to command. Who am I? They also tell me I bore the days of misfortune equably, smilingly, proudly, like one accustomed to win. Am I then really that which others tell of? Or am I only what I myself know of myself? Restless and longing and sick, like a bird in a cage, struggling for breath as though hands were compressing my throat, yearning for colors, for flowers, for the voices of birds, thirsting for words of kindness, for neighborliness, talking in expectations of great events, powerlessly trembling for friends at an infinite distance, weary and empty at praying, at thinking, at making, faint, and ready to say farewell to it all. Who am I, this or the other? Am I one person today and another tomorrow? Am I both at once? A hypocrite before others, and before myself, a contemptible, woebegone weakling? Or is something within me still like a beaten army, fleeing in disorder from victory already achieved? Who am I? They mock me, these lonely questions of mine. And listen to this line, folks. Whoever I am, thou knowest, O God, I am thine. It just gives me chills to read that. And you think about the occasion that he was writing that in. There's that beauty of like, all right, I don't know what's going on, but what I do know is I'm yours, God. And there's comfort we can take in that's outside of the rat race in our heads and all these worries about am I presenting what's going on, and all that. It just parks it all and just comes to this very clear, like, well, what do I know? I know I'm yours, God. And I think that's what's the lesser light, to rule by the night. It's not warm and fuzzy, but it's dogged and it's stark, and in its own way, it's beautiful. So that's my thought for today, folks. Again, and I'll post the poem up because I sure do find it incredibly beautiful. And what we're going to do now is we're going to ring a little bell, do a little meditation. After the meditation, we're going to do a prayer. After the prayer, we're going to do a blessing. And after the blessing, if you so choose, you may leave a comment on New Church Live's Facebook page, where we have a little conversation here at the end of our 10 minutes of morning calm. So with that, dear friends, let's take a breath and listen to the bell. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and bring you peace and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at anyone who would like, we'll read any comments, anyone who would like to leave a comment on New Church Live's Facebook page, and would love to hear from you. And again, a big invite for you this Sunday. We're starting our new series, and the new series is called Love Anyways, and it's looking at the whole concept of forgiveness and how do we sort of practice forgiveness, the idea of 70 times 7. We're going to do a funny little one on what is your pet peeve, which I'm sure many of you have. I know I certainly have some pet peeves. And yeah, it'll just be a wonderful little service. Wonderful little service, wonderful little chance to connect. All right, a lot of comments here today. Okay, let's take a look at what people are saying. All right, Chad writes, good morning from Snoklahoma. Chad, I like that phrase. That's good. Linda writes, safe travels. Mandy, good morning. Happy Friday. Mandy, good morning and happy Friday to you too, my friend. Lindy, good morning from sunny and warm Florida. Oh, Lindy, I keep on thinking about our parishioners down in Key West who I just have to go see at some point in time. Joy, yeah, wow, it's an incredible poem, Joy, and it's interesting because Bonhoeffer actually had a lot of new church connections, Christian new church connections. Yeah, he has some relatives in our congregation, which is kind of fun. Yeah, Paige writes that poem. I mean, Paige is like stunning, right? It's just a stunning poem, and I think it's so true what all of us experience. I mean, there's a universality to it as well. Linda, looking forward to dinner. I am as well. So just so you guys know what that reference is. Linda and I grab a group of friends, and Linda's the one who organizes it. I just show up and eat. On roughly once a month, we have a little dinner over here at the office, and it's super fun. For those of you who come from a long heritage in the new church, it's very much like the Friday suppers of old, where communities would get together just to break bread. Sure is fun to do, and looking forward to that. Patty, amen, from Rick on the phone. He is driving. Yeah, Patty, you know what? It's just really good, and it just settles us on like, okay, God, you got this. And just thinking about that with everything he went through. Rita, rain, go away. That is a good little poem in and of itself. Carl, beautiful poem. Bonhoeffer has always been an inspiration. He truly is. If you want to read a great book, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Letters and Papers from Prison. And you'll see, there's obviously some stuff there that's archaic language because it's written all those years ago, but really pretty incredibly beautiful. Yeah, on his way to his execution, Carl, that's a great point. This is the end for me, the beginning of life. And one of his wardens was interviewed after the war, and he said he never saw a man go to his death as at peace as Bonhoeffer was, which is interesting. Snowhio. So we have Snoklahoma and Snowhio. That brings a big old smile. Yeah, what I'm going to do, Carl, is I'm going to post the poem up here on this chat, so you can all take a look at it. All right, folks. God bless. Thank you so much for joining me. It really is a beautiful thing that we all get to experience here together every day. And I know most folks will join us later in the day or later in the week, or even on the weekend. Regardless, so glad you join us. So glad you take part in this little community, this little growing community that I think it all makes a big difference in the world. So, friends, take care.